Someone asked how to show my child how lucky they are. Are you wondering the same thing? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting and good communication, as well as how to build strong family bonds all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're going to be talking about teaching our children how lucky they are. In this video, we're going to talk about why it is important that children do understand how lucky they really are and what problems they can have if they don't know how lucky they are, and then what you can do to show your child how lucky they really are. I work with a lot of families around the world, and if there's one thing that I have seen, it's a lot of entitlement. I think parents are worried about that. They're seeing the children be selfish, entitled, not care, whine, complain, demand things of their parents, not take responsibility, and the parents start asking themselves questions like, do my children really recognize how lucky they are to live in a nice house, to have a family car, to have good clothes to wear? Do they know how lucky they are? And maybe the parents tell their children things such as, really, we are very lucky. And the children say, what do you mean we're lucky? Because we have to do chores, because we have to, whatever it is, do our homework. That's not lucky. And the children are always giving pushback. And the parents are wondering, how is it that we can ever get through to our children? Do we need to drop them off in a third world country and let them suffer for a while? Obviously, that's not going to show a lot of love from parents, but sometimes that does teach a really powerful lesson. My father was a public school teacher. We did not have a ton of money. My mother was an at-home mother. We definitely had to scrape by as a family, and there were a lot of things that we didn't have. But I have to honestly say, I felt like my childhood was amazing. In fact, we've even had times, my husband and I, raising our children, where we've built businesses and we've had to start over with things, and we didn't have a lot of money. And I was homeschooling some of my children. In fact, that's one of the things that led me to doing treatment foster care for troubled teens for a lot of years, because I needed a way to provide for my family when I didn't want to leave them and go back into the workforce. I really had worked hard to pull away from the office to be home. I know that even though my family growing up was not wealthy, and our family is not, super rich, still compared to some, though, we were very blessed. We had a lot of things. And I was glad that my parents made sure that I understood that. Number one thing that they did was they made sure not to give me every single thing I wanted all the time. They made it so that I had to hope and want for things, because honestly, they couldn't afford it all the time. But they did also make sure that we had some really special, wonderful experiences. I remember my mom and dad wanted us to have a trip where we would go to a beach house at a very special beach, and we were going to spend a whole week there as a family. And this was something we talked about for multiple years in a row, and finally it happened. When we got to the beach house, we looked at our beach house that we were renting and reserving compared to some of the other beach houses that were right next to ours. And you know what? Ours wasn't the nicest one, but we got to be at a beach house. We were there, and it was amazing. And I think seeing that we got to have that really special experience didn't even make us think that we didn't have the nicest of all the beach houses. We got to do something we never thought that we could. So having some special moments, and moments where you aren't having the best of everything, and then other times where you do have some really special things, I think that gives children a variety. They can make some comparisons, or they can recognize there are certain times where you're a little bit more lucky than other times. That was the only time we got to go to a beach house like that as a family, and it's something that we will always remember. And when we were there, we got to go to Disneyland too, and different theme parks, and we did so many special things, and it created memories to last when normally our family would just go camping. And camping is wonderful too, it was special too, but it was so different to this other experience that we recognized that we were lucky then, we were blessed then. So that also made it seem like, there are times where people are more blessed than others, and it's okay to have good times and to have other more humble times. But I know that sometimes when you have so much money and convenience and our society is so affluent, we wonder, how in the world do we teach this to our children? Well, one of the things that people teach first is we've got to show them another way of life. So they immediately think, okay, we've got to go on a humanitarian trip somewhere else to show our children the way that people live in other ways. And I will say that's actually a good thing to do. So our family has traveled around the world a lot, especially teaching this stuff, because there's people in other countries, in every different faith, that are like, I want to learn those skills of self-government. We need them. So we went and lived in Africa for a month as a family, and we got to go into the slums and see the people there and how they lived. And we got to see their smiles and talk to them and see how much they appreciated us handing them just like one granola bar because we had extras with us, you know. We got to see people and their children sitting on the side of a river with crocodiles selling things and, you know, recognizing they're in danger right now because of these crocodiles could come get them potentially. But they need to have a place to sell their wares, and this is what they're choosing to do. So, you know, we got to see a lot of things, and my children after that were never the same. It is powerful if you can do something like that, but then there's some people that think, well, I don't have the money, Nicholeen, to take my whole family for a month to Africa to give service to other people. Because service is valuable, but you don't have to be in another country to give service. You can give service right in your community. So you can say, all right, what neighborhood needs a little assistance? Or what people might need some assistance? What people need food? And how can I help and do so in a way that's humble and caring? And what can I learn from them too along the way? Because if you're just looking down at others, that does not help. You've got to get in with the people and really understand them. Hopefully you're part of a church congregation that has a variety of different socioeconomic classes of people in it. That's really helpful. I know that the congregation where we go to church, there are people who are very poor, people who are kind of mid, and people who have a bit more money. When you have all of those people together in one church congregation, you're able to see a difference, and you're able to see the value of people no matter whether they have a lot or whether they have a little. But I would say the number one thing that you can do to teach your child gratitude and to be appreciative for what they have and what you've given them is to teach them to work. Set goals with them that involve work projects, big work projects, building things, raising money, doing something for somebody else besides themselves, and have them involved in every step of it. And maybe that just means remodeling a section of your house or somebody else's house or something. But be involved in a lot of work on a regular basis, daily work. When a person understands the value of work and how much work goes into something, one project, then they're able to start seeing how much work might go into these other things like dinner or the clothes that they're wearing, those types of things. And you know what? When it comes to gifts too, don't give such huge things. Give less. That will help them be more appreciative of what they have as well. Children absolutely can learn to be more grateful, but we have to create an environment where those lessons can be learned. If we just keep dumping stuff at them, they will become more and more entitled and selfish, and then we'll wonder why they don't appreciate us and why our relationships are suffering. It doesn't need to be that way. Now, sometimes children can even become entitled in their communications with us, so remember that as well. And sometimes parents even can become entitled in their communications. What do I mean by entitled in your communication? Well, what I mean is that you expect people to treat you or talk to you in a certain way. Well, in a family, we should all understand good, solid communication and our roles, and we should be able to communicate effectively with love, but also to maintain boundaries with each other. These are all the types of things that I teach on this channel. This is the Teaching Self-Government channel. It's mostly about how we communicate with each other. So entitlement with stuff is one thing. Entitlement with communication can absolutely damage relationships. Usually entitlement with stuff leads to entitlement with communication. If you need help with the communication part of teaching your children to appreciate what they have as far as a good family and people that love them, then you may need to learn more about teaching self-government. There is a full-length class here on this channel called The Not-So-Known Secret for Parenting Success. That full-length class will go into details about the skills and principles of self-government, things like accepting no answers and disagreeing appropriately, and accepting consequences that are going to be vital for your children learning how to appreciate what they've got. Click on the link to that video now. I'll see you there.